What's up, YouTube producers? This is your boy Broke Shady, and I got another good one for you today. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a Mac Miller type beat. And stick around to the end of the video where I show you the beat completed. As producers, sometimes we know it's a challenge to make type beats because some of our favorite artists like to choose different sounds for their beats and different type beats, so they're not really stuck on one sound all the time. So for this Mac Miller type beat, I'm gonna go for something more lo-fi and chill. Okay, so here's my sample. It's just a little piano piece that I found. Now I chose this sample because I really like the sound of it. I like how it was captured, the recording of it, just the slowness and the texture that you get from this. I like how the chords flow from one to another. It's very relaxed, so I actually might keep it the way it is. We'll see. Okay, so I was able to chop up my sample, warp it, and it slowed down a little bit. So here's what I got so far chopped up. Okay, so now that I have my sample chopped up, I'm gonna dive in and do some drums. So I'm gonna go through my sample library and pick out some lo-fi samples for my drums. Here we go. Got my samples ready to go. So I'm gonna try and record some. There we go. Okay, so I only really like the first half of that take, so I'm just gonna shorten this and duplicate it. Bam. Whoa, what happened there? You must die. Alright, so I'm happy with those drums for now. Add some bass now. Before you get too far into your beat, you want to make sure that your kick drums and your 808s are hitting at the same time. If not, it's going to cause some major problems. So you might as well go in and fix that while you can. Do it. I've got my 3 key elements dialed in: the sample, the 808, and the drums. So now I'm going to pause from creating for a second to start mixing and cleaning up the sound. So the first thing you want to attack when you start mixing is your levels. Make sure everything sounds good in the mix. It's where you want it to be as far as levels are. That's the first thing you want to do. While you're at it, you should be cleaning up your project. See, I have this audio track I'm not using here. Might as well just get rid of it so it's not cluttering up the space here. And make sure when you're mixing your drums that you go through and click on each one and make sure that it sounds balanced within the drums. A lot of times I find myself with the hi-hats way too loud. I gotta bring those down all the time. So make sure you go through these and make sure that your drum samples sound good together when you have them on a drum rack like this. Very important. Alright, so next I want to get some compression and EQ on my sample. Now one thing I noticed here is that the 808, to match the key, it's really low. So what I might want to try here is raising all of this up a couple steps to see if it sounds a little better. So I'm going to go to my 808 and turn that up a few steps and then do the same thing with my sample. Okay, so at first I tried transposing this all up 4 semitones, but I didn't really like the way that the sample sounded. So I kind of met in the middle and turned everything up to semitones. So this is what I got now. So sometimes when I want to add some space to the drums, if you add just reverb to the entire track, it kind of muddies things up sometimes. So I'll play that and I'll show you how that sounds. And that might sound appealing at first, but once you had that droning on for too much, especially with the low end in your kick drum, it kind of muddies things up. So what I like to do instead is to just pick and choose which parts of the kit I want to add more to. And usually it's the rim or the snare. So I'm going to add some reverb to the rim shot. So now you get the same effect, but it's not working as hard and it's not clouding and mudding up your mix. And then one more thing I want to do with the mixing here, something I like to do is add a limiter to the 808. And as I'm mixing, I'm going back and forth between the speakers and the headphones and listening to both and comparing them and kind of meeting in the middle and seeing and learning how my speakers sound. I've learned over time that my speakers kind of lack a little bit of bass, so that when I'm mixing I add a little bit too much bass and then my mixes end up sounding incorrect, basically. Learn how your setup sounds and what you should try and avoid and do to correct these things. Now that I'm somewhat happy with that mix, I want to go in and add an intro. I'm going to show you guys how to add an intro. So your intro can be whatever you want, but you want to do something that's going to grab your listener's attention. So usually I'll start with a sample, so I'll take my sample, duplicate that, and use that as an intro. I guess sometimes it kind of depends what you're making beats for, but if you're making it for somebody to sing or rap over, you got to keep in mind that they need space to sing or rap, so you got to make sure that you keep some things open for other things to go there. So here's my intro. It might sound a little basic or plain, but this is what I think works. I know what you're thinking. I know. We got an intro right here. We got a loop right there. That's pretty much a beat right there. No, we can't get too comfortable as producers. So what you should do every so often is just take a break. Stop listening to the same thing for hours and hours over and over, because you're just gonna get lost in your own head, trapped in your own ideas. So you gotta take a break. You gotta stop, have some kind of reset or refresh, so that when you come back to this, you can have a fresh mind to observe it, and maybe you'll see it in a different light. Maybe you'll see something or hear something that you didn't before. Our ears and our mind can get really tired, and we don't want to put too much strain on our ears and our mind. So you want to make sure that you take breaks and come back and see if it feels the same. If it feels the same way when you come back, that's a good thing. If it doesn't feel quite the same, then you might have just been caught up in the moment and just creating something and got so obsessed with the idea of creating it that you didn't realize that it wasn't really that good. Yet, I should say. Because if you liked it at some point, then it has potential. Alright, so one thing I like to add when I'm not really sure what elements to add musically is just some automation. Take your effects and move them around. So I'm going to do that with this auto filter on the intro here. Check this out. So make sure none of these tracks are armed and hit record. You can record any of your effects. Alright, so what you want to make sure you do when you turn your loops and samples into full beats is you want to make sure that you have variation within your sections. So I've got my intro section, I've got my beat loop section where most of like a verse rapping will happen, and then after that I've got more of a laid back section with no bass or drums, just to kind of give you a breath, and maybe you'd have some kind of chorus or some other section here and then something else after that. So you want to have these little breaks in between energy. And you want to make sure that you have different levels of energy so that when somebody wants to come and rap or sing on this, they can use each section to kind of tell a story. You can build up the music for sections when you want to have more energy for the vocals, and then you can bring it back for sections where you want to emphasize the vocals and kind of make less of the beat and more of the song. Alright, that's going to do it for this video, so stay tuned for more tight beat videos and tutorials, and also stick around for the finished completed version of this beat. Broke Shady out.
Didn't get it. You were never gonna get it. They dangle these things in front of you. They tell you you got a chance, but I'm sorry, it's a lie. You made a mistake, and they are never forgetting it. As far as they're concerned, your mistake is just, it's who you are, and it's all you are. Do you hear me? You are not going to play by the rules. You're going to go your own way. You're going to do what they won't do. You're going to be smart. You are going to cut corners, and you are going to win. They're on the 35th floor. You're going to be on the 50th floor. You're going to be looking down on them. And the higher you rise, the more they're going to hate you. Good, good. You rub their noses in it. You make them suffer.